In the past, I never felt comfortable making these kinds of videos, game idea videos. I always had such an ego about it. I always wanted to be the one to make it. I wanted it to be me, 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 but who cares? Making a video is still putting something out into the universe, right? So, let's try this out. My idea for the ultimate game is one where you aren't even the one directly playing the game. All you do as a player is indirectly interact with the player characters in the game. So the game would surround an individual or maybe individuals, and these individuals would be able to be interacted with by the players. Basically, every single person who chooses to play the game gets to interact with these specific player characters. Like, say there's 100 people and 10 characters. It could be 10 to each character. I don't know. Just spitballing here, but we would have to ensure that the simulation, for lack of a better term, is populated with NPCs, and I am not sure if these NPCs should be interacted with by players. Like, if anything, players should be able to control the code surrounding the NPCs to have them do things to interact with the player characters, but I'm not even sure if that itself is taking it too far. But the game world would have to be populated much like our own, with facilities and amenities similar to that of our own. We can give them a history, maybe even paralleling our own. But the player characters are basically free to do as they please. They don't even have to listen to the players if their goals don't even align with what the player wants them to do. So I want them to be fully autonomous entities, just living their life, going to school, eating lunch, hanging out with their friends. Like, say you want a player to kill someone, you can't just have the player characters kill by issuing a kill command. Certain conditions need to be met, like either lowering their moral compass or taking advantage of a bad situation. Like, say a player character gets screwed over and you start implanting thoughts telling them that their lives are basically over, so, they may as well kill whoever screwed them over. Eye for an eye. That was just one example. You won't be able to force the player characters to do whatever you want without putting some level of effort in. You either got to slowly influence them over time by having them switch the channel to one they wouldn't watch, maybe. Maybe have certain people interact with them, that NPC idea I had earlier, and become friends in order to become a bad influence and lead them astray. Or like I said, take advantage of a bad situation. All the things I have mentioned are, of course, only talking about the bad, but I have a bigger vision for the game. I can see people fighting others in our world through the game for power over who gets to influence the player characters. Like, maybe one group is trying to be wholesome and they're trying to hook the player character up with a suitable partner, but then the enemy group attempts to introduce another, like, potential partner, just to try and give a little temptation here to try and sway them away from the popular choice, the intended partner. Will the player character drop all the time and energy that they spent up until that point and hook up with the easy option, or will they deny the temptation and push on only to get rewarded with a happy family by the end of it? I want to see that kind of story play out. I can even see the end game now. I want a perfect world where the player characters are free to live on as entities just as real as us someday. Side by side, that we can interact with each other to, like, get ideas about what we could do in our world. Like, if we have a war going on, ask them for their opinion, because they're a fully peaceful world and they have no war, so what would their solution be? But of course we have bad players that want the corruption and chaos, and we can't just take that away from them. So instead of just deleting the bad and keeping the good, I think a better idea would be to sort of cast out the bad into their own server to do as they please, while the good can remain in their own server untouched. But that's getting way too far into the future. We need a way to filter out which players or player characters get to go to the good place and which ones go to the bad place. I can imagine a system where their actions are tallied up and they're filtered that way, but if these beings are going to live side by side with us in the future, then I would honestly want as many of them to have a chance to make it as possible. So, like, I would probably introduce a sort of religion that would offer to pay for all their wrongdoing for the sacrifice of sorts, that they can, go to the good place if they so choose to believe, that is. Of course, we would have the bad players go against this religion, either to be edgy or because they want as many in their bad place as possible by the end game, so that they can have the most fun they can possibly have with what little they have, but it doesn't matter. This game is going to be a free will sort of thing. The player characters don't have to believe if they don't want to and are free to follow any scripts they desire. Because, if we have a tally system, that shit's gonna be abused. That's why we have to introduce a sort of religious system into the game, because if there's no failsafe, then the bad players could potentially bring down everyone in the simulation. Again, for lack of a better term. So the player characters can follow the scripts being implanted by the players. They can follow the scripts tethered to them at their inception. Or they can follow scripts indirectly through other player characters. Or maybe even NPCs, like I said before, you can, like, if we made it possible to send a group of NPCs to a player character to, like, get them into a bad crowd, like, that would be an interesting option, but I'm not sure how exactly that would work. Like, would we have to create groups of people and just, like, generalize them, make them super stereotypical, Would the freaking player characters figure it out? No. Because if it's working with AI in the future, it would be able to figure that shit out easy. But the point is that the bad players will get their playthings, while the good simulated reality will get a higher pool of player characters to work with than had we not implemented a failsafe at all. Without the failsafe, it would be very easy for the bad players to create spreadsheets and figure out the most optimal routes to drag it down all the player characters. If it were up to me, I would honestly just save them all, but I feel like it has to be a choice to make the game feel more real. Like, imagine getting invested in a guy only to have him spiral down and get dragged into the bad place. He would be a plaything for the bad guys, and they would have their way with him. Like, he would never know the possibilities of the good place. You would want to save that guy, You would want to do everything in your power to make sure that he can make it out of the experiences that we are providing them with. And since I assume that this game will never be possible without AI and better technology in general, I think that the end goal would be to literally have the good place be a reality parallel to our own. Like, give them a sentience that is to the point where they can interact with our reality as much as we can interact with theirs. Like I said before, it would be interesting to have a fully peaceful reality to ask for opinions on situations in our reality, But of course, in the good place, I don't even really want direct player interaction nor indirect player interaction. I want them to be free to run whatever scripts they would have implemented to begin with, had there been no human interference at all. To live happy and pure lives and be free to do as they please without restrictions. We would basically make it a utopia or heaven for them just because we can. It's a video game. We can make whatever we want. May as well make whatever we want. And if you can see where I'm going with this ultimate video game idea, then yeah, that's how deep this goes. We're already inside of this game. You, the soul who is called to click on this video, aren't even the player. You're just a player character running off the scripts being implanted into your mind. You're running on autopilot while well, for lack of a better term, ultimate player is AFK. There's other players trying to make things happen, of course. They've all got their own agendas, the good and the bad. But if this existence goes on for longer, then I see this game as being a tool that could grant some humans the sight to see what exactly it is we've gotten ourselves into. Make them take a step back the next time a bad thought makes its way into their head, you know? At the very least. I wish you all good luck on your journey. Be safe out there.